Hello everyone, it's Robin the Delta Crafter, and I want to thank you for joining me for the Christmas in July series on my YouTube channel for 2022. This is a series of videos posted on my YouTube channel that will hopefully provide you with some holiday inspiration. We are halfway through the year, and as crafters, we start to think about the holidays so that we can get our ideas together and start planning all the products and things that we'll need. So I'm planning to provide you hopefully with some inspiration to get your holiday crafting started. Let's talk about these tags that we're going to create today. First, we're going to be using the Let's Make a Tag set from Simon Says Stamp. We're also going to be using the Nested Tags dies from Hero Arts. I'll be using several different distress inks, including Tumbled Glass, Barn Door, Festive Berries, Mowed Lawn, and Rustic Wilderness. Of course, I'll be using some Neenah Classic Crest Solar White paper in 80-pound weight, about 4 panels of that in an A2 card size. We're going to zhuzh up these tags a little bit with some embossing powder. I'm showing you several different kinds here, but I'm actually going to only use 2. I'm going to use the White Sparkle from Hero Arts, and I'm also going to use a clear embossing powder, which is one that I've had in my stash for quite a while. Not quite sure of the maker. I pour my most often used embossing powders in large containers, which make them really easy to use. So I have a bin that is filled with all kinds of holiday themed embellishments. There's twine, there's jingle bells, there's pom-poms, all different kinds of ribbons, all kinds of things that are in this box. So some of those things are going to end up showing up on these tags. Let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to take the second smallest tag die from the Nested Tags die set and use that to cut out some tags on my A2 size panel. And I have 4 of these panels, like I mentioned earlier, that I'm going to cut the tags out of. So once I've die cut the tags out, I'm going to save the negative of that panel to use as a template for my stamping. The negative from your die cutting is an amazing tool to use when you're mass producing something like tags. So because of the size of the die, I was able to get 3 tags out of each panel. So with 4 panels, that gave me a total of 12 tags. I'm going to make 3 different designs today, so that'll give me 4 tags from each design. You can see I've already chosen a few images from the stamp set that will fit nicely into the tag and make a great accent on the tag. So I'm fitting the negative from my die cutting into my Misty. Because my tags are all the same size, I'm just going to be able to easily plop those tags into the negative and use that negative as a template or holding place as I get ready to stamp my images. So I'm going to use several different inks at the same time. And that's one of the things that, again, the beauty of having a template is you can do this because you have things that are holding everything in place. So I'm adding some tags into my my negative here, and then I'm not even adding any temporary adhesive to my tags to hold them in place. You can. It probably would help, but I didn't have any issues with just sticking the tags into the negative. So I've inked up the snow globe with VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And now I'm going to bring in Mowed Lawn and Festive Berries to ink up my other tags. While I want all of these tags to be holiday themed, they're not necessarily all going to be just red and green. I like to have a little bit of variety in my tags and cards, so I like to also use some non-traditional Christmas colors just to mix things up. So one of my tags I've chosen to use for Season's Greetings, I've stamped that in the Mowed Lawn, and then for Joy and the Snowflakes, I've stamped that in the Festive Berries. I'm bringing in my microfiber towel to rub across my stamps so that I get a good impression of my stamps. Now, a couple of my images could be improved in their stamping, so I'm just going to go back in one more time with my festive berries and my mowed lawn and restamp those images, and you can see the intensified ink color on those stamps. I'm going to take those 3 tags out and replace them with new tags and get ready to stamp again. And again, because I'm using this negative as my template and my stamps are lined up to match my template, creating my tags becomes a sort of assembly line. So I just put new tags in, I stamp, take those tags out, replace them with new tags, and stamp again. So I've stamped all of my tags with the colored images. So I'm going to clean up my stamps in the door of my MISTI because I want to hit some of these tags with some embossing ink so that I can add some embossing powder to a couple of the tags. So you can see I've added the Joy tag and the Season's Greeting tag back in. And here I'm bringing in my Versamark embossing ink. And I'm going to cover those stamps, or those stamped images rather, with some embossing powder. Again, having the template and being able to leave my stamps on my MISTI door allows me to be able to put embossing ink over my stamped images really easily and quickly. So while my ink is still sticky, I'm going to bring in my clear embossing powder and dip each tag into the embossing powder. I'm not going to heat set them just yet, but I am going to dip them and get them ready. So there are times that embossing powder will stick in places that you don't want it to be. So all you have to do to clean that up is just take a paintbrush and go along the areas where you want to clean up the embossing powder. So for my snow globe tags, I didn't want to stamp them per se, but I am going to use a Versamarker to color in a little bit of area where I want to use some embossing powder. So here's my Versamarker, which is just a marker filled with Versamarker or ink embossing ink. And I'm going to color over the bottom portion of the snow globe where the snow would be. And I'm going to color in the base of the snow globe. And I'm going to cover these areas with that white sparkle embossing powder from Hero Arts. Once I've covered my image, I'm going to flick off the excess. And then again, if this embossing powder is stuck in places that I didn't want it to be, I just clean it up with a paintbrush. Whenever I use embossing powder, I always have to bring out my little mini desktop vacuum to clean up the embossing powder and make it easy for me to continue with my crafting. This is one of my favorite things to have in the craft room because it always makes for quick cleanup. The products and things that I'll be using today, I'll be sure to link on my coordinating blog post for this video. So now that I have all of my tags with the embossing powder on them, now it's time to heat set this embossing powder. So I'm going to bring in my heat tool that has been warming up over to the side, and I'm going to hit each tag with the heat tool to melt the embossing powder. Because my heat tool was nice and hot, it didn't take any time at all to make sure that all of the embossing powder on each tag was set and ready to go. You can certainly skip this step for your tags. I just wanted to make sure that I added something a little special to them. The next step in the tag creation was to stamp a to and from on the back of the tags. That way it'll be easy for me to complete them or fill them in when the holiday season rolls around. So to add a little bit more color to the tags, I'm going to add some ink blending around the edges. So for the Joy tag, I'm going to be using tumbled glass and my Simon Says Stamp small detail brush to give us that effect of a sky at the top. Because these tags are small, having these small detail brushes allows me to add just the right amount of color exactly where I want it to be on the tags. You guys know one of the tips I always give about ink blending is making sure that you're moving your tool in the clockwise and counterclockwise directions. Doing this will allow you to get a great blend in your inking as well as a great transition from one color to the next. So in the end, I decided to add a little bit of blue to the bottom, just a slight shading of the blue, just to add a little bit more dimension and texture to the tag. So now we're moving on to the season's greeting tag, and I'm going to come in with barn door for this tag. So this is going to be a traditional red and green style tag. So again, I'm using my small blending brushes from Simon Says Stamp, and you can see there that my barn door ink pad is really juicy. So I'm tapping off quite a bit, and I'm keeping my tag moving so that I don't have like a heavy application of ink in one particular spot. I'm going to keep blending and working with this, and then I'm going to get a nice feathered out smooth inking and blending of my ink on my tag. By continuing to work with the ink, it's starting to smooth out and feather out on the edges of my tag, which is exactly what I was going for. Because of the way this inking has gone down on these tags, they have a little bit of a retro look to me, which I like. It's not necessarily a vibe that I go for all the time, but I'm liking it for these tags. I decided to use my alcohol markers on the snow globe tags, and I'm going to color in the trees with 2 different shades of green. I'm also going to use red and yellow to add some toppers to the trees. And then finally, I'm going to color in the snow globe itself with a little bit of a blue, a light blue color, to make it look like glass that you're looking through. Here's the darker shade of green for the trees on the side. Adding the yellow and the red tree toppers. Now I'm coming in with a very pale light blue to color in the snow globe area. Because remember, we heat embossed the bottom of the snow globe with that white sparkle embossing powder. For a last bit of color, I'm just going to come in with the barn door again and just add a very, very faint haze of red around the top of the tags and the bottom as well. So remember that box of holiday goodies that I had that I showed earlier in the beginning of the video? So I dug around in there and I found various different accent elements that I want to use on the tags. For tags to be attached to presents or bottles of wine or anything, you have to have some sort of string or ribbon or twine to tie them on with. So in my box I had several different colors of twine that would work with the tags that I have created. Each set of tags is going to have a different set of ribbons and twines to coordinate with the colors that are on the tags. So for this very first set of tags, the traditional red and green, of course, I'm going to use red and green twine to attach to each one of these tags. So I've cut some twine to be a decent length that will pull through, and I've looped it in half, and I'm going to pull the loop through the hole of the tag. Once I have my loop through the tag, through the hole, I'm going to pull my tails through the loop, and that's going to attach the twine to my tag. I'm going to do this for each of the 4 tags so that each tag has its own way to be tied and attached to a package. For the second set of tags, I've cut some red and blue twine, and I'm going to repeat the same process. The process is I'm going to cut a length of twine that is sufficient for the tag. I'm going to fold that twine in half. I'm going to pull the looped end through the hole in the tag. Once I've gotten that looped end through the tag, I'm going to pull the tails through the loop, and that's going to attach the twine to my tag. For this last set of tags, I decided to use pieces of black and green twine. And I'm going to repeat the same process again to make sure that I have attached twine to all of these tags. So as an additional element on the tags, I'm going to add some jingle bells to each of the tags. You can see here on the screen that I have some red jingle bells as well as some gold jingle bells. I've cut another piece of coordinating twine to allow me to attach the jingle bells to the tag. I'm going to tie a knot onto my twine, my streamers on my tag. I'm then going to thread my jingle bell onto one of the loose ends. I'll tie a knot again for security. And then I'll tie a bow to finish off the jingle bell. Now this first one did give me a little bit of trouble trying to get the bow tied, because I think I cut the string or the twine just a little bit short. So I learned from this experience, and for the next remaining tags I cut the string a little bit longer. Learn as we go, right? With a little bit of patience, I was able to get the bow tied. Now I'm working with the bow and just trying to get it in the place that I would like for it to be. I repeated this process until I've added jingle bells to each of the tags. And adding the jingle bells was the final step in this tag creation. I hope you have enjoyed this video, which is a part of my Christmas in July series for 2022. Be sure to leave me a comment below to be entered for the giveaway, which will take place at the end of the week. I will list and link as many of the products that I used in today's video on the coordinating blog post that you can find at thedeltacrafter.com. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to know when I'll be posting new videos, especially this week for the Christmas in July series. Be sure to check me out on Instagram and Facebook at thedeltacrafter.com. I share lots of content over in those spaces as well. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video. I hope you've been inspired, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Enjoy, everyone. Bye-bye.